This is the inside of the Bailey Autograph 79/4T. If I firstly move to the main control panel, you'll see at the moment that it's letting us know that we're hooked up to main supply, and then it's displaying the time. If I now press the power button, we can turn the 12-volt system on. This little indication here is just letting us know that the fresh water tank is nearly depleted and needs topping up. On this side we have water pump on and off. Whenever the pump is running, you'll get that little indication just there. We then have the master switch for the lights, and then they can all be individually turned on and off on their own switches. And then we have awning light on and off. All other information is then given via scrolling. So we have condition of leisure battery, how many amps we're currently using. We can't actually select the vehicle battery, so we don't need to worry about this. Internal temperature. The user settings menu, so within that, if I now hit enter, we can then go in and then we can alter stuff. So we can alter the contrast of the screen, whether or not we have button beeps on and off, whether or not we want to charge the vehicle battery from the main supply, how quickly before this control panel goes into standby when it's not being touched. And then we have alarms, so if the water level is low, an alarm will sound. If the waste is high, it will sound. If you lose main supply, it will sound. Obviously all these can be turned off if you do not want them. If the amps are high, if either of the batteries are dangerously low, if a fuse is blown, auto battery, just leave it to on, and full system shutdown as well. That's basically like a factory reset. We then have firmware it's running, and then just exit back out. We then have external temperature, and this is how we fill the tank from the whale filler hose on the outside. You do need to make sure that firstly the water pump is turned on, and then just press enter. So if I press this at the minute, it will tell me to turn the water pump on. Pump on, and then we can then start filling the tank. And obviously it will let you know how much water is in there. How much water is in the waste tank, how much water is in the fresh tank, and then we return back to the beginning again. To alter the time, just hold the enter button in, begins to flash, and then just use your arrows. If we now move across to the Aldi control panel for the heating and hot water system, we turn it on just here. On initial startup, it will let you know if you have main supply connected, and it will give you an internal temperature. If I now press menu, it will bring up its basic functions. So along the top here we have the thermostat for the heating, just literally just plus and minus to pick whatever temperature you'd like it to be inside the motorhome. It will go all the way up to 30 degrees and drop all the way down to 5 degrees for frost protection. We then have hot water on, hot water off, and if I press it again, hot water on boost. The boost facility is mainly for if there's going to be more than one of you having showers in quick succession of each other, or if you just want hot water extremely quickly. If you do perform the boost and the heating's running, it will turn the heating off. So even though I've now turned the boiler on, it's not actually fired up yet because we haven't given it a power source. So if I want to run on main supply, we use the little lightning strike just here, and we can run on either 1 kilowatts, 2 kilowatts or 3 kilowatts, so just dependent on the amperage of the site you're on. If we don't have main supply, we can run on gas, and if we have both power sources available to us, we can actually run in dual fuel as well. This will get us up to temperature extremely quickly, and it will only use the gas as it is required. If I now just turn the thermostat right the way up to 30 degrees, whenever the heating's running, you'll get this little symbol just here, just letting you know that is the indication that the circulation pump is in operation. If I now press the picture of the cog, this will go into the settings menu, and within this we have a night timer, so we can turn the night timer on and off just here. We can set the temperature we would like it to be for that period. And then we can set the time, so when it begins, whether it's for all days of the week or just individual, and then when it ends. We can also highlight this one here and invert the backlight, so this screen goes to black and the writing goes to white. And we can also highlight this one here to tell the boiler that we do not want any hot water throughout that period. Very handy if you're wild camping, so you're not wasting your gas heating hot water whilst you're asleep. Next we have a picture of a sun, and we basically have the same again but for the daytime. Prioritise is what the system prioritises in using when in that dual fuel mode. So at the moment, with the picture of the lightning strike, it favours main supply over gas. If you were on an extremely low amp site, you could flip it over so it actually consumes more gas, less electric. This one here is brightness of the screen. You can invert it all the time if you wanted to. This one is not used on this particular model. This one here is just clock set and day of the week set if you're going to be using the timers. These ones are mainly for the workshop, so you can't actually gain access to them. This one here you can, which I'll show you in a moment. We then have this one here, which is called antimicrobial. You do have to be using the night mode for this to work. So program your night mode in, turn it on to as it is now, so it's highlighted in green. And then during the night, the boiler will come on, heat up rapidly to kill off any bacteria that might be in the system. We then have temperature offset for the onboard thermostat, so if you don't think it's quite correct, you can just slightly adjust it. High altitude mode, so if you are using the motorhome 1,000 meters above sea level, just turn this on to make the system run at the different air pressure. Button beeps on and off. Instead of having multiple timers, you can just have one delayed start and stop to the system. Pump settings for the heating, just literally leave it set to thermal, you don't want it on anything else. Factory reset, so if there is a problem with the control panel you can reset it. External start, you do have to have additional things added to the system if you want to be able to control the heating and hot water via an app. Language, service, more for the workshop, but it will let you know what everything is up to. And then installed accessories. So within this one here is extremely handy, which is the load monitor. If we now go back in and we go back up, you'll see it's now available. And if you arrive on site and you know how many amps the site is, you can literally pick on here. And then it doesn't really matter if you run at 3 kilowatts, it will control itself to avoid tripping. In conjunction with the heating, there is a switch just down here, and this switch here turns a fan on that sits just here. So when you've got your heating on, this fan will take some of the heat from the pipework and then blow it into the cab area. We have this section of floor here that lifts up, and underneath here we have the table and the table legs. As you can now see, I've removed them, and beneath it we have the location of both leisure batteries. The table itself, both poles drop into these sections just here. So I've popped one in. As you can see on the bottom here, I just need to marry up into the hole, and then we're just twisting it round to lock it into place, and then we can then place the tabletop on. And then, as you can see, you then have the dining area. If I now just remove the cushions just here, and then I lift up, you'll see we have the location of the consumer unit. So we have the individual MCBs just here. We then have the main RCD and test button. So if anything's not working on main supply, just check to see whether or not you've tripped. We then have the 12 volt fuses just here, and again they're labelled up. Also tucked in the back here is the onboard freshwater tank heater isolation switch. So if you don't want the automatic tank heater to come on at all, just flick it off like so. If it's on like this, it's active but not necessarily running. There has to be water in the fresh tank, and secondly, the temperature outside has to drop below about 3-4 degrees for it to come on. The actual battery charger itself is in the back of the consumer unit just here, so do make sure that you try to avoid putting anything over this part here, or otherwise it will overheat. To have both travel seats, this section here just slides back out of the way, and then we then just clip them back onto these sections just here, exactly the same as this one. Storage all located underneath the travel seats. We then have the sink and the hob. So we have the electric hot plate that will work when we're hooked up to the main supply. Red light comes on to let you know it's in operation. Everything else is gas, so it's push, twist, and then just come down to the igniter just here. Beneath that we then have the oven and the grill. Push in to the left for the oven. And then to the right for the grill. Beneath the oven, storage, but you'll also find gas isolation taps in here. They are all labelled up and then correspond on the sticker just here. They do not really need to be turned off. I always say if you smell gas in the motorhome, go to the source and turn the gas bottle off. Tucked there is a plug plugged in, which is for the electric hot plate. We then have the Dometic fridge off, mains electricity. We then have a picture of a battery which is 12 volt maintained for when we are driving. So this will activate as soon as you start the engine. And then lastly we have gas. If we are going to use gas, we need to come across to the temperature control. We need to hold it in and push the igniter, and then we want this line here to drift out of the white into the green to indicate that it's lit. We then have the large freezer box just here. This can be removed if required. As you can see, there's just a clip there and a clip there. Microwave above. Do make sure that the contents are removed for travel. Again, this will work when we're hooked up to mains. We have all the usual stuff that you get with microwaves now. So you've got quick start, stop, power settings, etc. just here. Above it, more storage, but also tucked up here there are two plugs plugged in, which are for the microwave and the fridge. In the floor just here, we have access to the fresh water tank just there, so if we want to clean it out, it's nice and easy by just unscrewing the cap. We then have the same again, which is access to the waste tank. And then tucked right at the back is some more underfloor storage. Washroom. So we have the basin just there, and then we have the toilet. To open to the cassette, just slide the grey lever across, push to flush just here, and then literally make sure that you've closed back up again, or otherwise if you try to remove the cassette from the outside it will not come out. So if you do feel resistance, just make sure nobody's left it open. Level indicator just here to let you know when the cassette needs emptying. We then have the shower cubicle. Do make sure that the shower screen is fully secured for travel. Solar panel regulator just there. Don't need to do anything with it. It will just smart charge the batteries as it's required. TV connection point just here. So we have 12 volt mains and aerial fly lead in, so just dependent on the television you're going to be running. Digital amplifier for the television aerial just here, on and off on the top. Control the boost just here. And then we have the television mast itself. So to raise the mast, just unscrew the collar just here and then push up. This green window just here represents the back of the aerial. So get it into the position that you require and then lock it in place. At the moment the aerial is sitting in the horizontal position. We can flip it on its side to vertical just by turning the tail here, and then the green window will go round to red. Do make sure that it's back to H for travel and that the aerial is down and this red dot is facing you. We then have the bedroom. So again, we have storage underneath the bed, but we also have the location of the boiler. So Aldi boiler just there, and then we also have tuck down there the boiler drain valve. As you can see, the yellow lever is flapped over at the moment in the closed position. To drain the boiler down for winterization, firstly make sure the water pump is turned off, and then flap the lever up like so. It will then drop the water out of the boiler. I always suggest that if you are fully winterizing the motorhome, that you then also go to all of the taps and open them all up like so, because this will help in releasing any airlocks in the system and helping to drain the system down fully. When it comes to refilling, close the taps back up, return to the boiler and close the drain tap, then literally turn the water pump on and start filling the boiler. You will then need to open up your taps. They'll cough, they'll splutter as they force the air out. Once they're running freely, close, and then the system will then fully reprime itself. We then have storage again underneath the other bed. And pull out drawer just there. Within the wardrobe we have the Aldi heating header tank. Make sure that the fluid level is between the minimum and the maximum, but always take your reading once the heating is up to temperature, as it will expand in the tank. You can top this up yourself by removing the collar and then just unscrewing the cap. If you are going to do this, make sure that you are using the correct Aldi top-up solution. To make the front bed, we need to pull out both sections just so they meet. We then need to pull these across like so. If I then slide this back and this one back, we then just have a small gap in the middle. And if I now just get the infill, which looks like this then drops in the section just here. And then it's just a matter of removing this backrest just here and this cushion to then make the bed.